Good evening. I'm your lead anchor, Jonathan Augustin, and welcome to Junior News Network. On tonight's JNN broadcast, we will explore what happened at Sharpsburg, Maryland 153 years ago. On September 17, 1862, Robert E. Lee led the Confederates in a battle that's impact would forever change American history. This battle would result in a staggering 20,000 casualties, the bloodiest battle ever recorded in American history. This battle would end in a stalemate. However, it led to some grave consequences. Firstly, it led to the European countries not recognizing the Southern states as a legitimate nation. Secondly, and most importantly, it led to one of the biggest events in American history. Abraham Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation, setting all the slaves free in the South. Fortunately, one of our workers had the opportunity to go back in time and to interview one of the greatest generals of American history, Robert E. Lee. Off to you, Bosworth.
Hello, I'm Brian Boswell, joined here with Robert E. Lee, one of the top generals in the Confederate Army. General Lee, I have a few questions for you. Is it true that President Lincoln offered you a position as a general in the Union, but you refused his offer? And if so, why did you refuse?
It is true. I was offered a position with the Union Army, but even though I own no slaves, I will say to you what I said to President Lincoln. I will never raise a hand against my home.
And how did you expect to succeed in the fighting when you were vastly outnumbered by the Union forces?
I expected to win the battle through surprise and tactics, planning to strike when they weren't expecting it. And I was betting on the fact that the Union wouldn't realize that they had such a numerical advantage and would retreat out of fear of troops we pretended we had. It probably would have worked too if it weren't for the fact that a Union soldier found a copy of my orders.
In the article, The Civil War's Human Cost, it talks about the magnitude of casualties sustained during the war. How did you think that you could continue on with the war with that high of a casualty rate?
The casualties for both sides were immense, but even though the North has superior numbers, we are fighting mainly in our territory, and we are fighting for our freedom and for our families. And they will give up more easily because of that, especially in light of the huge numbers of deaths.
After the battle, which happened to be the most bloody American battle in history, did you have any thoughts of surrendering and ending the war?
Despite the loss, I never considered surrender. We will continue to fight on. They may have repelled us temporarily, but they still do not control much of the Confederate territory, and we will be able to come back again.
What was your reasoning for going on the offensive and making the trek across the Potomac River into Maryland and capturing Harper's Ferry and occupying the area around it?
Well, at first we had decided to fight a defensive war, expecting the Union would give up easily after a few months. However, that did not happen as quickly as expected. So we began an offensive in order to coerce them into making peace. And we chose Harper's Ferry because it's of great strategic value, being an important railway crossing and having many arsenals full of Union weaponry.
After this battle, are there any chances of you and your army recovering and winning the war?
I think our chances of winning are still pretty good. The Union may have won the battle, but we lost fewer men, and we believe that with the continuing high casualties, they will give up. As long as we are able to prevent them from taking too much control of our territory, we will be safe.
Thank you for your time, General. Now to Thomas Sheng for more.
Thanks to Brian and General Lee for this fantastic interview. And this battle was indeed an absolutely bloody one, with over 3,500 killed and almost 17,000 wounded. Now we all know that before the Battle of Antietam, the South was on the verge of winning this war. the Confederate Army was pushing towards to the North capital, Washington, D.C. But after this battle, the Union Army forced General Lee to retreat. I believe that this battle could be a huge turning point of the entire war and also even the American history. The Union Army not only secured the capital of the North, but also are likely to change the result of the war. This battle was certainly a huge boost to the northern side, and perhaps this is the start for the North to lead to the win over the Confederate Army. Also, I think this battle dramatically changed President Lincoln's attitude towards slavery. Previously, President only claimed that he wanted to stop the expansion of slavery, not to abolish it. However, recently we heard that he was preparing to issue a preliminary proclamation to free all slaves. Once the proclamation was issued, the nature of this civil war will also be changed. I'm really excited to see the end of this war, not only because there will be no more people dying, but also in long term, this war may finally resolve the problem that people has been talk about over these years, that would the rights of freedom in the Declaration of Independence be extended to our Americans or only the chosen few? Give it back to you, Joey.
Glad I wasn't living in that song. Okay. This historical event could be categorized into America's fifth period, an area where a developing nation was expanding while experiencing population growth, racial tension, the Civil War, including its aftermath. Through further evaluation, we can conclude that this event acted as historical causation for the expedited emancipation of slaves and the development of our unique American society. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to JNN News, and good night, America.